Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44. So another topic came to mind. LaMarcus Aldridge is now going to be moving on from the San Antonio Spurs. They're looking for some type of deal for him. There's a couple players that are going to be in that space right now. Victor Oladipo's in that space. Andre Drummond's in that space where they're not quite out of their teams. They're not off of their teams, but the teams have agreed to part ways with them. LaMarcus Aldridge is another one of those guys. Don't be surprised to see these guys traded for one another. Before I even start the video, don't be surprised to see a Marcus Aldridge in a Houston Rockets jersey or a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey and them sending back Drummond. Because it just, when you have several players who have agreed to walk away from their teams and the teams have agreed they're just looking for trades, it only makes sense to look at those guys as the guys to trade for one another. Just like I said with Westbrook and Wall, it was pretty much the only trade. So it's not a whole lot out there in regards to LaMarcus Aldridge, in my opinion, because LaMarcus Aldridge he runs hot and cold a lot at this stage in his career. He doesn't really give you a whole lot defensively. Most of his game is predicated amongst mid-range shooting. That game is kind of, it's useful. I think it's useful. I think it can still be effective, but it's not really used as much as it should be. He's not banging with anybody. He tends to have games where he goes absolutely nuts, but then it's like after that he comes back and he doesn't. It's just father time, to be completely honest with you. I don't think it's a whole lot wrong with LaMarcus Aldridge. It's just he's aging, and with that comes a decrease in his production. So for what the San Antonio Spurs projection is right now, being is that they have a bunch of young guys, young forwards that can play a bunch of positions. They don't really need a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge eating up minutes at this point. You'd rather those minutes go to a guy like Keldon Johnson or Trey Lyles, guys that they have on their team that are really starting to round in the form. They want to give these guys more looks, and I don't blame them. They're a young team, and they got a nice young core at this point with a lot of guards. So they probably need a little more beef in the inside rather than finesse. And I can certainly understand that. A guy by the name of Jakob Poeltl, who used to play with the Toronto Raptors, was also a part of that Kawhi Leonard trade. He is starting to round in the form, blocking a lot of shots, kind of showing that he wants to be the next big for the Spurs. So I can definitely see them moving in a different direction. I'm not surprised by anything I'm seeing there. There's been a couple places that I see that have mentioned that he's been rumored to be interested in. One being, of course, going back to Portland. Another place I've heard was Boston. Of course, Brooklyn's in the mix. We are in the mix, the Lakers. So those are the teams that I've heard thus far. And as a Laker fan, I can say he's a weapon that we can use. But like Marc Gasol, like Wesley Matthews, he's kind of in that realm at this point. In other words, he's done. Now, if he's in the right situation, can you get something out of him? Yes. And to be honest, the Lakers is not the worst fit for who he is at this stage. But when it comes to a defensive situation, when it comes to really doing it, banging with people, if he's not having a LaMarcus Aldridge king of the world type of game, which he does tend to have here and there, if he's not having that, he's not helping much. Now, he can block more shots than he gets credit for. He's a little better defensively than I'm giving him credit in this video. He rebounds a little better than I'm giving him credit as well. He's not just soft. But there are some concerns about what he's going to bring to the table from night in to night out basis. And just for the Lakers particularly, we don't need another player like that. We have a couple guys like that. And we're not good enough at this point. So I think bringing in LaMarcus Aldridge could be good for name sake. I think the basketball IQ of it all and the cohesiveness of our team can be strengthened by his presence in certain lineups, particularly with LeBron James on the floor. I think they would play very well together. But ultimately, he's not what we need. We need a little more beef there ourselves. Drummond is who I have my mind set on. If we can't get Drummond, I'm looking at a guy like Whiteside. I know people have said JaVale McGee. I don't think that's the answer, to be honest with you, but I'd love to bring him back for sentimental reasons, but I don't think he's the answer. We need somebody a little better than that. We need somebody like Drummond, and I'm hopeful that, no one thinks to trade for him, uh, and the Spurs don't think to trade for him and ruining our plans in that regard, or he doesn't go to Brooklyn and continues to stack the deck over there, making it impossible for anybody else to win, which is their job. But at the same time, I think he would fit a better need over here with us, speaking of Drummond. But as far as LaMarcus Aldridge, where does he go? Where does he fit? As I sit here looking at my glove, I honestly have no idea where he would be an ideal fit. I think Phoenix is a place that comes to mind quickly because I like the structure of their team and they don't really have a power forward like that. So that's the first place that comes to mind. I think you could slip him in at the starting the starting power forward position, and they have a hell of a team that you could really, really see him fitting in on. And if it's not a great situation, you could sit him down and still have plenty of talent at the various forward spots to make up for him. So if you don't trade away a lot to get him, I think you could fit in really well with Phoenix and what they have going. Some said the Portland Trailblazers. Why not? Sending him back home to Portland, he should have never left there in the first place. He was a superstar caliber player there, perennial all-star caliber player there. He already obviously has chemistry with Dame. I don't know that he played with CJ. I think he was already gone by the time CJ got there, but I'm not certain about that. He might have played with CJ's rookie season, but as you guys know, CJ didn't play his rookie season, so that might have been how that went. Either way, him going back to Portland I think would be fine for a familiarity standpoint, for sentimental value. I think he has a good chance of having his number retired in Portland, so I think it would be a nice reunion there. They're a good team, so it's not like he would be going there to suck. So I like that fit for him. Where else? Any team that needs depth at this power forward position, I don't know that you can get away with not starting him. I think his name is going to demand that he starts most places. But I think, like a guy like Blake Griffin, once he gets to his next destination, you're going to quickly find out why he's going to transition into a bench player. Like, that's what I think is going to happen. By name, he's going to start. Once he gets there, if he doesn't play like as great as he can, I could pretty much see him going to the bench for somebody. So if he's going to play a bench role, I like him in Dallas. I like him in Dallas a lot. And the reason why I like him in Dallas is because they have players that complement what it is that he does. You got Luka Doncic down there. You got Kristaps down there. You got guys that can really spread the floor a little bit. Actually, you know what? I take that back. They've lost some shooting, so they need what he brings to the table. I think especially if he can shoot the three, which is not really his game, but he gets out there in 20-foot, 30-foot land. He has great form, so he'll make it work. If he has to be a spot-up shooter, I'm pretty sure he'll knock down a great deal of them. But you don't want to render him to that. But I think Dallas would be a good spot for LaMarcus Aldridge, given the fact that they have Porzingis in place. They have guys that can do certain things that complement him. I think that's a decent spot. Look at a place like Denver would be interesting for LaMarcus Aldridge if he's to play a bench role, or even start for that matter. I think Denver might be a solid spot for him, aside next to Jokic. He would be a solid running mate for Jokic. I like that. There's places. Obviously, Brooklyn's an interesting fit, but it's only but so many shots. Like, when you have a player like LaMarcus Aldridge, if you can't guarantee him at least 7 or 8 shots a game, you're really not getting the most out of him anyway. So if you're bringing in a LaMarcus Aldridge, it's almost like overkill for the Brooklyn Nets, because you're not going to really need him. You got everybody else shooting the basketball. When does he shoot? It's like you already got Blake Griffin pretty much playing that role. Where does he come in? So I don't rule out him just going there just to chase down a ring. Certainly reinforces an amazing amount of depth, but they are going to be long in the tooth. Adding him makes them older. And I don't know that you want to get older if you're the Brooklyn Nets. I think they're already old enough. They have a nice core of youth there. It's not like they're old. But if you keep adding these ring-chasing vets, you can find yourself getting old quick. And we've seen several examples of how that doesn't work. Remember Cleveland when they added Derrick Rose and all these different vets there and Crowder, and it didn't work, and they had to trade them all the way at half of the season for Clarkson and God knows who else was on that team at the time. Yeah, that's kind of what you're looking at when you add too many ring chasing vets. It can go south quickly. So I don't know about Brooklyn. Where else for a guy like LaMarcus? Some would say Boston. Not really a lovely fit because I look at Jason Tatum. If he wants to come off the bench, that'd be great. But they got Tice, they got Williams at the 4 spot. You got Tatum playing the 4. I just don't see a whole lot of LaMarcus Aldridge energy there, even though I did hear his name mentioned there. So yeah, I didn't come prepared to say the least about where LaMarcus Aldridge would best fit in, but I can tell you that the few places that I named are okay fits. So at the end of the day, man, LaMarcus Aldridge is a perennial all-star. His mid-range jumper is as good as anybody who's ever done it. And when he's right, he can run up 45, 50 points if he's having a great game. And we've seen him do it as recently as maybe 3 years ago in the playoffs. So where his conditioning is, where his head is in terms of his enthusiasm for working out and taking care of his body is going to determine a lot. I think being in a wing chasing situation could help with that. I like Miami for him as well because that's a team that's going to get him in the peak shape that he needs to be in. They have a reputation. Miami, as we all know, has a reputation for going hard, super hard workouts, sweat-drenching workouts that last forever. Pat Riley stuff. I think that could be really intriguing for a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge at this stage in his career, trying to get the most out of his body in the latter stages. I think going somewhere like that could really whip him into shape and get him playing some of the better basketball he could play in his later years. I think so. Miami's a decent fit. They have some bigs. They got plenty of bigs, but I think adding a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge just provides depth, mid-range shooting, et cetera, et cetera. So I like that fit there. So yeah, man, that's what I got. Thank you guys for watching. I'm sure there are other fits. Don't get it twisted. There are others. If I can throw one more place in there, I just love the idea of having 3 power forwards, 3 bigs in rotation. So the Pacers are an interesting fit for LaMarcus Aldridge for me, even though I know he's not looking in that direction. I think with Caris LeVert coming back, T.J. McConnell having a crazy great year, Brogdon having a fantastic year 4, I believe this is for him. Sabonis playing like an all-star, even though he was snubbed. Their other center playing like an all-star, even though he didn't quite get that consideration. Blocking shots like crazy. I think LaMarcus Aldridge would be a nice hot and cold to their strength, to their brute strength. Sabonis and God, what's that man's name? You know how I am when I forget people's names. But not Evan Turner, but is it Evan? No, it's Miles Turner. Yeah, Miles Turner. When you're talking about Turner and Sabonis, they're both strong players. They're both shot blockers. They both are not finesse guys. You bring in a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge to throw in the mix to kind of keep them in rotation. Suddenly they have a front court that is very, very dangerous. Even if LaMarcus Aldridge doesn't come back super duper strong and super duper fit, he's still in a rotation where he's keeping other guys healthy based on taking pressure off of them. So now you got Turner and Sabonis not holding as much of the weight. They can take games off to get healthy and things like that without it affecting their team. And they're a sneaky, deep team. They are maybe 1 or 2 real pieces away from being contenders in the Eastern Conference. I think a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge would slip right in and fit very well coming off the bench for a team like that. Again, no one's looking in that direction. That's probably not happening, but I do think it's a solid fit. So, that's what I got for you guys. Thank you very much for watching. My name is BDF44, and I am out. Oh, one more spot. The Clippers. The Clippers are a good place for LaMarcus Aldridge for the same reason. I like Serge Ibaka. You bring in LaMarcus Aldridge, they're pretty much the same player at this stage in their career. You lose nothing when you bring him up the bench for Serge Ibaka. And to a point, they could use a big. I like Dikembe Mutombo's nephew is starting to show signs. He's really a nice player. Zubats is developing well. Again, you got Ibaka. I think you could put LA in the mix, and he could be a part of that rotation. And I like that for them. I think that's a good piece. He makes them a lot deeper. He gives them mid-range game that complements Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Lou Williams. So I think that's a fantastic fit for him as well. I think he should be looking at the Clippers. I really do. Anyway, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. That's what I got. I'm out.